All right, we now shift focus to the U.S. The U.S. Senate has voted to advance a resolution to block U.S. President Donald Trump from ordering further strikes on Iran. 4 Republicans have joined in the voting to discharge a war powers resolution from the committee. And now the balance stands at 50 to 47. That's the procedural vote that turned out to be the breakthrough for the Democrats, as 4 Republicans defected from their positions, joining the Democrats in their position. Even though the measure still faces considerable hurdles, this is not the end of it. The hurdles are before that it could force Trump to end the war. The War Powers Resolution of 1972, which is the law the Democrats have used to force this vote, it requires presidents to remove U.S. forces from any conflict that Congress has not authorized within 60 days. Trump hit the deadline on the 1st of May, but evaded it by claiming that the conflict was effectively over, even though the U.S. continues to enforce a naval blockade in the Strait of Hormuz on Iran. And the threats continue to come in from Donald Trump, with the Vice President of the U.S. saying that the U.S. is locked and loaded. Donald Trump saying he is mulling over a potential hit on Iran, which would be much harder. And this is following Tuesday's procedural vote. The Senate still needs to pass the underlying resolution. As I mentioned, this is not the end of it. It needs to pass the underlying resolution, which may be more difficult than what it has achieved so far, if every senator is voting. The measure would also need to pass in the House, which last week narrowly rejected a similar resolution. And then, of course, there is also the U.S. President, who would have veto powers at the end. The U.S. President has renewed threats on Iran. As I mentioned, he has warned that the country would strike again. The U.S. would strike Iran again, just a day after claiming that they've held off a major assault in hopes of a peace deal.
So they called up, they had heard I made the decision. They said, sir, could you give us a couple of more days? Well, I mean, I'm saying 2 or 3 days, maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, something, maybe early next week, a limited period of time.
Well, Iran's army spokesman, Mohammad Akraminia, warned the Islamic Republic would open new fronts against the United States if it resumed its attacks. And just to give a little more context here, the front from the Bab al-Mandeb Strait has not been utilized militarily by Iran so far. Bab al-Mandeb very much within reach of the Houthis based in Yemen. And that strait has not been affected so far in this war, but Iran has threatened to do so at a number of occasions. Then he also adds that Iran's military had used the ceasefire as an opportunity to strengthen its combat capabilities, as a number of reports have also suggested that it has been able to replenish and bring to concentration a lot of its missile capabilities that still remain intact. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, who negotiated with Iran in those talks in Pakistan that did not arrive at a conclusion, he also said that the U.S. was locked and loaded, but voiced hope for a diplomatic solution.
We think that we've made a lot of progress. We think the Iranians want to make a deal. The President of the United States has asked us to negotiate in good faith, and that's exactly what we've done. So we're in a pretty good spot here, but there's an option B. And the option B is that we could restart the military campaign to continue to prosecute the case, to continue to try to achieve America's objectives. And we could talk a little bit about what that looks like, but that's not what the president wants.
Then there are latest reports and events in Israel that also hint at possible resumption of war. And this is according to a local report from Israel. An Israeli diplomat believes that Tel Aviv is closest ever to restarting the attack on Iran. Now, if the war resumes, Gulf states could once again face Iranian attacks. Iranian hardline figures have already escalated their rhetoric against UAE, accusing the country of supporting U.S. military operations by hosting American bases. UAE was rattled by a drone attack on its Barakah nuclear power plant just days earlier. It said on Tuesday that it originated from Iraqi territory, where Iran-backed groups exist. And these groups have been accused of launching attacks on Gulf nations during the war as well. The UN Security Council on Tuesday condemned the attack. Russia, which often defends Iran, joined the other members.